Welcome back to Code Hives, the place where we make it work, make it right, and make it fast. So in this video, we are going to be looking at how to use the HTTPS requests and basically creating views for each one of the requests. And yeah, so basically in the previous video we looked at creating serializers. So we created an author serializer as well as a book serializer, and then we renamed our table from author to our author table as well as our book table. Okay, so I want to actually go back to this book serializer, and you guys saw that in the previous video we specified the fields that we want. So I actually want to remove that, because I just wanted to show you guys how to specify different fields. But I like to use the all, so that if there's something that I don't use, then I don't use, right? It will be cleared out in the views. So I just want to change that to all. Okay, so now that that is done, I want us to look at HTTPS requests. So basically we have a few of them, but these are just four that I normally use, right? So there's the post, the put, the get, and the delete. So let's start off with the post, right? So the post basically is to create a new item. So in this case, it's I'm making an example in terms of the book table that we have, or the book model that we have. Okay, so basically example is adding a new book to the database. Analogy is, think of post like filling out a form to add a new contact to your phone, right? So in terms of code, you send a post request with all the details of the new item. Example, the book title, the author, the summary. So basically the post is like the create. You know how we have the CRUD functions? This is the CRUD functions, but in HTTPS requests. Okay. So the next one that we have is the put. So put is to update an existing item. So you could use put or you could use patch, but it depends basically on whatever you prefer, but I prefer to use put instead. So example is changing the title or summary of a book that is already in the database. Okay, so basically like editing an existing contact's name or phone number in your phone. Okay, so in code, you send a put request with updated details and specify which item to change. Okay, so basically, if you have thousands of rows of data in your database and you want to update one row, you need to specify the primary key of that specific row. So basically, that's what that is saying, that you need to specify which item. Okay, so the next one that we have is our get. Okay, so get is to retrieve data or information. So getting a list of all books or the details of a specific book from the database. So for a specific book, you would have to pass in a primary key ID parameter, a primary key parameter, so that it gets for a specific book. But if you don't pass in a parameter, it gets for all the books in the book table. Okay, so like looking up a contact in your phone to see their details. So basically it's like that. You can send a get request to the server and it responds with the data. Example, the book details. Then the last one that we have is a delete. So pretty self-explanatory: to remove an existing item, deleting a book from the database, deleting a contact from your phone. You send a delete request telling the server which item to remove by providing its ID. So basically that's the HTTPS requests that are commonly used, or that I'm going to be making examples with. So we have the post, the put, the get, as well as the delete. So let's get into it. So basically, if we go back to our Visual Studio Code, we are going to go to our app and we're going to go to views. Okay, so basically I had created this, but I'm just going to remove that because I don't want that for now. I need to delete all that basically. Yeah, so apologies for that, I was just working on something. Okay, so basically our views will be empty. Okay, So the first thing that we need to do is we need to create a few imports. Okay, so basically like we did in the serializers, in the admin, in the models, we do have imports that we have to create. Okay, so the first import that I want us to create is we need to create an API view import. So basically from REST framework dot views import API view. So I will explain each one of these now after I import all of them. Okay, so from REST framework dot response import response. Okay, then the next one from REST framework. Like I said, I will explain all of them just now. Import status, and then we're going to say from dot models. So I mean, some of these you will just import as you go along, right? But I just want to explain to you guys some of these because I want you guys to be able to be familiar with it. Okay, so import. So in this example, I'm just going to be working with the book serializer. Okay, so that's all that I'm going to be working with in this video. Okay, so the last one is from Django dot shortcut import get object 4404. Yeah, so basically these are the imports that we are going to need, right, as we move forward. So basically from these imports that we have created, these two models and serializers, book and book serializers, we're just really pulling the book serializer from the serializers.py as well as the book model from models.py. So that is pretty self-explanatory. So let us look at the other ones that we have. So basically from REST framework.views import API view. So this imports the API view class from Django REST framework. So API view is the base class for creating API views in Django. It provides methods like get, post, put, delete, etc., which you can override to handle specific HTTP request methods. So basically those are the methods that we looked at in previously, these ones. Okay. So the next one is from REST framework.response import response. So again, it's coming from the Django REST framework class, which is used to return an HTTP response from your API view. Okay, and then the next one from REST framework import status. It imports the status module, which contains HTTP status codes that can be used to send appropriate messages, status responses. Okay, so basically status HTTP 200 OK or not found. Okay, so you will see that as we go through with the video. And then the last one is from Django shortcuts import get object or 404. So basically this imports the get object or 404 shortcut function from Django. It is used to retrieve an object from the database or return a 404 not found error if the object does not exist. This is a common way to handle cases where the requested object isn't available, ensuring the response is a proper 404 error. So basically those are the imports that we have in our view that we just created. Okay. So now the first thing that we need to do is we need to define a class. So I'm going to say class. So like the serializer and like the model, I like to name my class whatever it, like, you know, make it relevant basically. So I'm just going to say book API view. Okay, so basically in the parameters we are going to use API view that we just imported from REST framework.views. Okay, so again Python. And then the first thing that we need to do, so how do you create comments? So you create comments using hashtag. So I'm just going to say get all books or a specific book, just so that, you know, you guys can see what is what. So I just went overboard right there. But anyway, so the first one that we're going to do is getting all books or a specific book. So I mean, we can come back to our responses here and we can see that for that we are going to use a get request. I almost said post. We're going to get a get we are going to use a get request. So if we go back, we're going to create a function. So we're going to call it def get. So we're going to pass in parameters of self, request, as well as the primary key. So in this case, primary key, we are setting it to none, because what we want to do is we want to say if a primary key is specified, return only the book for that specific primary key, or if a primary key is not specified, return everything, right? So basically that's why we're passing the primary key. Then the request and the self is always going to be there. Whether you're doing a post, whether you're doing a delete, you're always going to have self as well as request. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to say if pk, right, which is our parameter over there. So if there is a primary key, we're going to say book is equals to, so we're creating a variable book, and then we're going to say get object or 404, and then we're going to say book, and then we're going to say pk is equals to pk. So let me explain this part for you guys. So basically what we're doing is we're saying that if there's a primary key that's being passed, we're going to create a variable called book, and we're going to say get object or 404. So like we looked at it over here, it's going to get the object, or it's going to return a 404 error if it's not found, right? And then we're going to literally just get the model, so the book model, and then we're going to say where the primary key is equals to the primary key. So the primary key in the table is equals to the primary key that we are passing in. Okay, so that's what that line is doing. Then now for our serializers, okay, so I'm just going to call it serializer variable, and we're going to say is equals to book serializer, is equals to book serializer, and we're going to pass in the book. So we are passing in whatever is getting taken from our book model for that specific primary key. We are passing it over here in our book serializer. Okay, and then we're just going to return a response. So we're going to return a response, and then we're just going to say serializer dot data. So we're just sending through the data that is in the serializer. Okay, so that's if there's a primary key. Else, if there is no primary key, what do we do? So we're going to say else, and then I'm just going to create another variable, but I'm going to call it books. So we're going to say books is equals to object, book dot object dot get, right? Not dot all actually. Okay. So basically what we're doing over here, we are saying that we're creating a variable called books, and we're just getting all the books that's over there. Okay, so we're just saying book, our model, dot object dot all. So if there's 10 data in the database, we are going to return all of the objects. Okay, so now we're just going to say serializer again is equals to book serializer, and then we're passing in our books, and we're going to say many is equals to true. So what this means, many is equals to true, it means that there can be more than one object being returned. So that's why we need to specify that many is equals to true. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to have our return statement, and we're just going to say response again, and then we're going to say serializer.data. So we are returning the data that's in that serializer. Serializer on line 17. Okay, so let me recap. Okay, so basically what we did, right, is we created a class called book APIView, and we're passing in the APIView from our REST framework.views. So this method, like I said in the comment over there, is to get all the books or a specific book. Okay. So we're creating a method, It's a get request because we are getting or we are retrieving data from the database. And we're passing in self, request, and primary key. So primary key can be none, right? So we either pass it or we don't pass it. So if we do pass the primary key, what do? We say book get object or return 404 error, right? So we're looking at the book models and we are saying where the primary key that is passed in is equals to the primary key in the table. Then we're saying serializer is equals to book serializer, and we're passing in the data. Okay, and then we are returning a response where we're taking in the serializer dot data. Okay, so the data that's in the serializer basically. Else we are saying books is equals to book objects dot all, so we're getting all the objects in the book table, and we're saying serializer is equals to book serializer, and we're passing in the objects that we're getting. And we're saying many is equals to true because there can be more than one book objects, right? And then we're just saying return the response serializer dot data. So basically that's the get function. So in the next video we'll be looking at the put, the post, as well as the delete function. So stay in touch and just watch the next videos as I show you guys the other HTTP requests. Yeah, so basically that's it for this video. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you learned something, and yeah, we'll continue with this in the next few videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you're new to this channel. Please don't forget to hit the like button and the notification bell to get notified whenever I drop a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching.